Good day everyone. So in this video we will be tackling about how to connect triads with one common tone. So one trick to distinguish triads with one common tone is to look at its roots. So if their roots are a fourth or a fifth apart, they have one common tone. Let's take a look at our diatonic triads here, if this is true. So C and F, they are a fourth apart. One, two, three, four. So they have one common tone, which is the C. Both of them share one common tone, which is the C. The same with D and G. D and A. They share one common tone. Like D and G, both of them have the letter D. D and A, both of them the letter both of them share one common tone, which is the A. So and so on. This is true to other chords like F and B diminished. Both of them have the letter F. So things to put in mind when connecting triads with one common tone. First, here, the common tone should be retained on the same voice. So whenever possible, you should retain the common tone on the same voice because this will make your part writing so much easier because you already have a clue on where to put the note on on the second chord. Second, the remaining voices are moved to the nearest chord tones. So as you can see, I caps lock the word nearest because this is a keyword in this sentence because we want to achieve the smoothest voice leading results. So we can only achieve that if we move the voices to the nearest chord tones. So before we proceed to our examples, let's take a look at our steps. So I made these steps to for us to be guided in this lesson. First, first, make a checklist of the triad tones. So this is not necessary if you already memorized the chord tones of the chord or you are already good at this. But for learning purposes, I included this in our guide to for us to visually see what is happening. So next, identify the common tone. Because we made a checklist, we can easily identify the common tone. Then after identifying the common tone, we will start writing, part writing. Then we find the common tone and retain it on the second chord. So next, and the last step, which is move the rest to the nearest chord tones on the second chord. So let's try and apply this in our examples here. First here. We are in the key of C. As you can see, there is no accidentals, key signature, no sharps and flats. And it says here that this is the dominant of the C major scale. So this is G. So according to our guide, we should make a checklist first. So let's try and make a checklist. What are the chord tones in this chord? So this has 2G because this is in a root position. So let's put here 2G. Then B and D. B and D. Um, Next, on the second chord, let's also make a checklist of the triad tones. Since we are in the root position because there is no figured bass indicated, so we are in the root position, we can already know what are the chords here. What are the chord tones here? So we can already make a checklist. So this is D. This will have double D because we are in the root position. D, F, and A. So after making a checklist, Now we can identify what are their common tones. So as you can see, both of them have the letter D. So we will find the letter D on the first chord. So where is the letter D? It's here. So what we are going to do on the third step, we should retain the common tone on the same voice. And after that, next, move the rest to the nearest chord tones on the second chord. So in this case, G is closest to A and F, which is part of the chord D. But if you put an A here, and this note will have nowhere to go, because if you put D here, it will cause an irregular doubling since there are already three Ds. So best thing to do is to move their voices, is to find another way to harmonize. So G is closest to F. So we put that here, and the soprano will go to A. That's it. That's how you harmonize triads with one common tone. So let's take a listen. Like that. So let's proceed to our next example. We are still in the key of C, and according to our steps, first is to make a checklist. Let's make a checklist. This is the E minor. So this will have two E's because we are in the root position. Then G and B. After doing so, let's proceed to the second chord, which is A minor. So let's do that here. Let's make a checklist. This will be A, because we are in the root position, A, C, and E. So because we made a checklist, we can visually see what is their common tone. So as you can see, both of them have the letter E. So we can now retain the letter E on the first note to the second chord. So here we are retaining it. Next, the last step is to move the rest to the nearest chord tones in the second chord. So we will move that. In this case, G is nearest to A. It is not closest to letter E, because you will need to leap a third. So G, F, and E. So there is a third, leap of third. Then, unlike here, you only have to leap a second. So this is the closest. Next, the soprano. So which is the closest? A or C? Since we already have two A's and an E, so the remaining chord tone is C. So there it is. We're already done connecting triads with one common tone. Let's take a listen. Wow, that's good, right? So let's proceed to our third example, or last example. We are in the key of B flat, since there are two flats in the key signature. In this case, this is C minor. So let's make a checklist. So the letters C, double C, E, and G. The next chord, this will have, no, I'm sorry, E flat, E flat, and G. The next chord, this will have F, F, A, a double F because we're in a root position, F, A, and C. So we are already done in the first step. The next step will be identifying the common tone. So both of them have the letter C. So we will try and find which of these C should we retain. So since this C already moved here, so we will retain this C. Let's try and retain that here. C. Oh. Next is move the rest to the nearest chord tones. In this case, um the remaining notes, we already have the F and the C. So the remaining notes are F and A. So where should we put that? So F and A. So we can put that here. Soprano, G is closest to A and E is closest to F. That's it. Then you're already done connecting triads with one common tone. And that concludes my lesson for one common tone triads. Thank you.